Namaskar and welcome to In Conversation. I'm Mamta Chopra, and today on the show we have with us a young scientist and inventor who, at the age of 15, is selected as Time's first ever Kid of the Year, a title which is like a barometer for the rising leaders of America's young generation. And it's a proud moment for us Indians as well, because she is an Indian American who's been selected for this great award. We have with us young scientist Gitanjali Rao. Welcome to the show, Gitanjali.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And congratulations to you for this wonderful achievement.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See, it was in 2017 when you were about 11, 12 years old when you got this coveted honor, the award of America's top young scientist. And now, within few years, you got this big achievement. Tell me, Gitanjali, what is it that sets you apart from other kids of your age?
I honestly think, first of all, it's the motivation and drive that I put into my work. I think more than anything, while the work is one aspect, I'm so passionate about what I'm doing and so excited about every new step of my journey that I'm taking. But saying that, I'm beyond honored to be featured among so many fantastic finalists for Kid of the Year. So it honestly could have been a toss-up.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's talk about your inventions because viewers would love to know what this young girl is up to. See, your first invention for which you got this award was the contamination of lead in drinking water, and we all know that access to drinking water is actually a universal problem. So, how did you get connected with this issue?
Yeah, so Tethys is a device that detects lead in drinking water faster and more inexpensive than the current tools that are already on the market. So first, I actually observed the water crisis in Flint, Michigan when I was about 9 years old in the US. And it was so appalling how many kids my age were drinking a poison every day. And then I continued to do more research and realized that this problem isn't just in Flint. This is something that's worldwide, including in places like India, where people don't have clean water to drink. And it's so unfair because water is a basic right that everyone should have. So I look towards finding a way so that each and every one of us know what's in our water and have access to clean drinking water.
All right, so that is where you began this journey of working on this lead contamination in drinking water. But also because you were just 11 when you were talking about this carbon nanotubes to detect lead contamination. So I actually want to know, were you always interested in science and the scientific principles?
I was for the longest time, since the age of maybe 3 or 4, I have been interested in scientific tools, technologies, principles, theories, whatever related to science I had fun with. But I think in second grade, that started shifting from just doing experiments to doing experiments for positive change, doing
Oh.
it for making a difference in my community. So that's what I do now. In the past, I just used to do experiments for fun, but now I do these experiments for fun, but to also help other people.
But you, was there anybody who was guiding you? Because, at that young age, you can't be doing it all alone. Or was it like there was some trigger point which sort of catapulted you towards these inventions and innovations? Because reading science and doing some things or the practicing those principles is a different thing. Innovations, inventions is a different cup of tea altogether.
Yeah, so my parents have actually been my biggest supporters of my journey. And they have really done whatever they can to provide me that resources and environment where I can thrive as an innovator. So in second grade, my mom started this um, group of my friends who we all wanted to compete for a challenge, an innovation challenge. And that's the first time I'd ever used innovation and used science to create a positive change in my community. So with my group, we created a chair that goes underground to save space when you flip like a light switch. And so the goal for this was to be somewhere on the International Space Station or in space so that you have more space for research, you have more space for other things. So that's the one thing that we came up with. We never really made it a reality, but in second grade, it was a huge step for all of us. And I don't know where all those friends are these days, but I decided to stick with it. I decided to keep up with my scientific passions.
Ah, and that's where it's brought you now. But I was reading about you when I got to know that, contaminated drinking water, you worked on opioid addiction, also cyberbullying. But these are quite varied issues, isn't it? Okay, tell us about this issue of cyberbullying. What have you invented so that one can control it?
Yeah, so I created a service called Kindly that's able to detect and prevent cyberbullying at an early stage. And it's based on the latest in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and specifically natural language understanding and processing. And it's able to identify words or phrases that may be considered bullying. So this is a service, meaning that it can be seamlessly invoked into a variety of front ends, like I've created an app and a browser extension just as an example, but anybody can extend it to any sort of front end. And the current solutions in the market, while they are effective, they're usually limited in their capabilities because they're based on a fixed bank of words. But while in reality, terms and memes and emojis are constantly evolving. So Kindly is self-learning, meaning that it's able to adapt to these changes and provide the user the best possible and most accurate experience. And to add on to this, Kindly attempts to be non-punitive. So instead of being on the victim side, it's on the bully side, allowing them to be aware of what they're saying rather than going directly to a punishment stage.
Children can handle it themselves. They can put it in their mobiles themselves. Nowadays, every child, most of the children, they have mobiles in their hands.
So yes, that is one option, but I think the bigger goal is to actually have this involved in bigger communities or schools or counties so that it's already embedded within school laptops, maybe school phones, and then they are required to use that Kindly extension just when they're on school grounds so everybody is staying safe. I just think that we need to find a better and safer way for communication.
Right. I must say that because this is a very, very useful invention, because cyberbullying is something people are not talking about. I mean, the kids who are being bullied, they don't talk about it, whereas this is actually a very, very important issue. But now that since you've given us such useful inventions, Gitanjali, tell me, what is it that is important to be an inventor? What kind of bent of mind, what kind of attitude is important to be an inventor like you?
Anybody can be an innovator. Anybody who is even remotely interested in creating social impact can be an innovator. I think the biggest thing is finding that internal drive and motivation to be that innovator. And that's really what I'm aiming to do for myself and for other students across the world.
And what is your inquisitive scientific mind working on now?
Yeah, so currently I'm going back to water. Instead of lead, though, I'm looking at parasites. So these are basically living things that live in our drinking water. But to detect these, I'm using genetically engineered microbes to create a bioelectric sensor. So what that means essentially is I'm using living things to detect living things, which is a very interesting concept. And then I'm also want to do something with the COVID-19 situation. Hopefully here we're coming to a close with this, but I think we also need to look out further for future pandemics. So I'm thinking of some sort of data and analytics approach to preventing future pandemics, so that we don't have to be stuck again at home for a long amount of time.
I can't believe I'm talking to just a 15-year-old girl, Gitanjali. Because, I've heard people, they specialize in microbiology or biophysics to talk about these concepts or to even think about working in these fields. So what kind of opportunities did you get which could motivate you and bring you further into these inventions?
I think the biggest opportunities is a group of mentors and a support system who has supported me from day one. I was able to work in the University of Colorado Denver lab in cell biology, and that's where I actually did a lot of my research for some of my devices. I worked in the Denver Water Research Lab for my lead detection tool. I have mentors in the Harvard University lab who have been, just wanting to learn more about my work. It's things like that where you just have a strong support system of people who believe in you is the reason where I am today. And I credit a lot of my success to them because I would not be here if it weren't for their support and their belief.
But you are also working on, which is a very interesting concept for me, working on a mission to create a global community of young inventors. You hold workshops, you have mentored more than 30,000 students. I'm sure that must be very exciting for all, isn't it?
It is definitely. I think it's actually more exciting for me to see at the end of the day how many people I've impacted. I actually work with about 150 to 200 students per week, through anywhere from 2 to 3 sessions every week. And everybody comes out of these workshops with some sort of idea as well as a process that they can use to make it reality. And I see all sorts of ideas. And I think the biggest thing is people want to make change. Our generation is growing up in a place where we're seeing problems that have never existed before, and innovation is a necessity, not an option anymore. And kids want to make change, they just don't know where to start. So I'm putting myself in the shoes that I was in 4 or 5 years ago and showing these students where to start answering their questions, because the power of belief and the power of support makes a difference.
I know that is right. But tell me, how do you connect with them? Or can you also bring this model to India? Or do you also have students from India working with you on these projects? Are you actually getting in touch with Indian students as well?
I have. So I run these workshops all over the globe, and I ran one for the Sherwood Public Schools District in Hyderabad about a year and a half ago, and that was one of the best experiences I've ever done. So I run them everywhere, but recently everything has been virtually, of course. So my next few are in Afghanistan, Ghana, Kenya, and I'm also doing quite a few in India coming up soon.
Okay, and tell me about your inventions, because this lead contamination in water, this is an issue which is applicable to Indian conditions as well. So, have you ever thought of bringing it to India, or are you already working in that direction?
That's exactly what I'm working on right now. So I'm working on mass producing Tepis. I partnered with the company before, but they weren't ready with their infrastructure to support the project. So currently looking for another company to reach out to. But the exciting part is that I want to start field testing this in places like India and places internationally, because those are the places that need it the most, in addition to places like Flint, Michigan. So I think that that's definitely what my next steps are, and I will be doing that.
Okay, great. And we will look forward to that. You know, you are an inventor, Gitanjali, who's finding solutions to real life problems. And we know that our world is facing so many such problems. And COVID-19 has actually shown us that, we can use technology to find solutions to so many problems. So that brings me to my next question. What is it that catches your attention? What are the issues that catch your attention? And how do you select your topic? Is it your random life experiences or some studies? How do you connect with these issues?
It's actually, I'm inspired by basically everything and anything that I see. I think the biggest thing that I pick up is if I find a personal connection with something. And that connection could be, I've had this experience, or I've seen this in the news and it hits me in a hard place, or even just like reading about it in a magazine and realizing that, wow, this is a big problem. I think that I'm inspired by whatever I have a personal connection to. And if you look through my inventions, actually, a lot of them have to do with kids. When I see kids drinking lead contaminated water, when I see kids getting addicted to opioids, when I see kids who are being cyberbullied, that's what my passion is. That's what I want to do, is help other kids just like me in this world. So that's honestly how I get inspired. I look at world problems and identify a connection with them.
Once said that if I can do it, you can do it, anyone can do it. But is it that simple, Gitanjali? And I'm asking this on behalf of all those children who are actually getting inspired by you.
It is. It is that simple. If I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can be an innovator. And I think that's what we really need to stress in today's society. I think we've created one depiction of someone who only gets A or high marks in math or ranks first in school can be a scientist, or someone who has to go to college and study this degree can be an innovator. Anybody can make a change in the world if you put your mind to it. So for those who are wanting to make difference, then you can do it. You can dream big and come up with ideas, because there's no one stopping you but yourself.
Exactly. And what a beautiful thought, and a confident thought, in fact. But Gitanjali, when you are into the field of inventions, there are a lot of failures. And we must talk of failures as well as when we talk of success. So how do you handle failure? Because I've always seen that, with children especially, they tend to give up once they face failure. So, how important is persistence and how do you face your failures?
Persistence is a very important part of the process, and I think we all see the very pretty front end, but behind it there's a lot of failure that happens, and that could be anywhere from something small to something big. But I think the biggest thing is not be afraid to try. There's never a limit to the amount of times you try, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you fail again, you learn from that mistake, and you don't make that mistake again. Somebody told me that fail stands for first attempt and learning, and I really like that because it quite literally is every time I make a failure, I learn from that mistake, and now my devices are probably 20 times better than what I imagined it to be.
Okay, that's great. But when we look at your achievements, we do feel that without family support, one could not have achieved what you've achieved at such a young age. Family support is very important. So tell me, how does your family? Because you've told me that your family really motivated you. So what has been your family's reaction to these scientific ventures of yours, which you started at such a young age?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to have received opportunities, support system, and just a family that I could grow and continue to learn with. But I think it's been constant support since day one. And whether that is through something small or like, you know, helping me out with trying to manage these interviews as well. Everything has been constant support. I think a funny story is that a game that my brother and I used to play when he was about 2 or 3, he's 8 now, is we would play like hotel room. So we all had to create our best version of a hotel room, a modernized hotel room. And my mom would be the judge and she would pick out which one she liked better. So that forced us to be innovative thinkers at that age. I always was coming up with ideas. So my mom really channeled that into something exciting. And that's what we did. And he always won after I was always winning before he was born. Then he was born. Then he always won because he would cry if he didn't win. But yeah, I think their reaction has been so incredible, and it's very exciting to kind of be giving back to our family for all the help that they have provided me and all the expertise and excitement that they have brought to my life. I'm kind of feeding that excitement back. Every day is a new adventure here in the Rao household.
Yes, but Gitanjali, have they ever been surprised by your aspirations, by your ambitions? Because children of particular age, you expect some normal reactions or normal likes and dislikes from them. But in your case, it was different. So, was there any ambition of yours which actually surprised them?
A lot of them actually. I think everything I would say about like carbon nanotubes or tethys or anything I would say, it would first be an instant reaction of shock, and then they will look at how they can support me on that area. And my brother is the same way. He is knows general knowledge about things that I will never know in my life. Like he
Oh.
knows about European countries. He probably can recite the world, like the globe for you. So like that's obviously not my expertise. Like I'm good with some countries, but I think both of us kind of brought our own flair to adventure and exploring. And it's a little bit chaotic because my parents will look at us, be both of them will be in shock at what we're doing, and then continue to look at how they can support our journeys.
I'm sure you both can make a good team when he grows up. But tell me, Gitanjali, because kids like you who are exceptional, we put them in prodigies, child prodigies section. And normally, because you don't look like a typical scientist, spectacle scientist or very serious looking kid who's into books all the time. You don't look like that. So, how has your social life been?
My social life is pretty strong, and I think that reason is because um, I don't necessarily look at myself as a prodigy. I look at myself like a kid who loves what she's doing. And great, this recognition is a side effect, but I think that whatever I'm doing, I will continue that journey of creating inventions, being motivated by what's around me. And so, my friends support this, my family supports this, everybody in my community supports my ideas. And I think that more than anything, they're proud of me and they understand if I cannot go to a movie because I'm doing an interview, or I cannot come to the house
Of
because I'm
course.
in the lab, which makes it that much more exciting that you have friends who support you.
Okay, and I've heard that you keep coming to India as well. So, would you like to share some fond memories of India with us?
I think my best memory of India is Diwali. I went to Diwali in India like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd only experienced Diwali in at home in the U.S. So that was just such an eye-opening experience more than anything. It was the most fun I have ever had to this day because there's so much food. There is so much fireworks. It's so loud and it's so fun at the same time. And I think I couldn't have asked for it any other way. This was when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and yeah, it was the best India trip I've ever had.
Okay, and though now we are into this mode of say no to crackers, but yes, we do have a colorful Diwali every time. In fact, all the festivals we Indians celebrate are very, very colorful, you know that. But tell me,
Yeah.
since you yourself are a young scientist, who's your favorite scientist?
My favorite scientist, I have quite a few, but I think that anybody who is just selfless and gives back to their community. So the first person that comes to mind is actually Jonas Salk. He developed the polio vaccine, but he never patented it, meaning that he never claimed it as his own, showing that it's almost for everyone to use. So that's honestly who I aspire to be, someone who's so selfless and thinks about others before themselves. So he's a huge inspiration for me.
So I'm sure you must be fond of book reading as well,
All the time, yeah.
all the time. So, which is your favorite book?
My favorite book is actually I Am Malala. I think it's something so inspirational about that book. I love biographies and autobiographies, if you can't tell, just because it's sharing someone else's story in the mix. And so I love reading about Malala. I love her journey, and I think she's so passionate about what she's doing, and I think that really empowers me to be me.
Okay, and I'm sure our viewers must be interested to know that this young scientist, what does she do for entertainment or things other than science and studies? What do you get engaged in?
Yeah, so I work on a lot of different things. I think I love baking. I love coming up with new recipes when I bake. And then I fence, I play the piano, I dance Kathak, I sing Carnatic,
Wow.
and I am working on getting my pilot's license with the scholarship from Wings Over the Rockies in Colorado.
Oh my God, Gitanjali, do you have 24 hours in one day or do you have more than that? Because I'm really wondering how do you manage your time learning all these things and continuing with your scientific inventions as well? How do you do that?
It's definitely complicated to balance, like, well, this week obviously interviews, activities, inventing, and then workshops at the same time. But I think the biggest thing is everything that I'm doing is something I want to do, not something I need to do, which makes every step of my day that much easier and that much more fun, is because I'm not just thinking about, okay, I have this work to do, I have this work to do. I honestly, after school, I get the day to relax by inventing, coming up with ideas, by, dancing, doing something or the other.
Okay, so in the end, my last question to you, uh, what would be your message to all those young minds who are looking at you for inspiration?
Yeah, I like to say dream big and think back to reality, because there's no one stopping you but yourself. I said this earlier, but the biggest thing is I am living in a dream. All of these inventions, ideas, workshops were all a dream at one point. And I made it reality. So if you do great work, if you look towards solving problems in society, someone will support you. Someone will follow your journey. And that's why I'm here today, is because I dreamed big and then thought back to how I could make it a real thing.
Wow, and I'm sure that this message must be so much assuring for so many of those children who want to be a scientist and who are trying to find ways to try out those things which they feel that can make them into scientists too. Gitanjali, I've heard that you sing also. You've learned Carnatic music, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so would you sing something for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll sing a segment from Broche Varevara by Tyagaraja.
Okay.
So I'll just sing the first part. Brocheva Arevarura Ninu Vina Raghuvara.
Wow, that was nice. And I must tell you, in fact, I'm feeling inspired by you, studies and dance and music and so many things. I'm really happy for you, Gitanjali. And well, all the best to you for all your future ventures. You are a girl with great confidence. You're a girl with beautiful and a brilliant mind. And you're so clear about your goals in life. So all the best to you, Gitanjali. And thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.